Welcome back to Torquay for TEL Friday 2018. I'm here at Living Coast down at the harbour with my new pals, and we're really looking forward to the show. We've got a live debate. Is e-learning actually any better than classroom learning? We look at the evidence and we ask you to join in the debate by phone, by Twitter and Padlet. We've got gadgets and software to help you improve your video to support learning. We've got an opportunity for you to actually make a difference by creating e-learning to support developing countries who currently don't have any. And we also have our famous TEL Friday challenge, in which our team will be creating a video on the Sepsis Six. We already have 5 components made by 5 different hospitals. Our team are going to make the 6th part and stitch it all together so we can show it by the end of the programme. Will they complete it in time? Stay with us and find out.
Hello, welcome to TEL Friday. I'm Amanda Gunning and this is Nick Napper.
Hi.
We are live from Torbay Hospital, and have we got a great show for you today, haven't we, Nick?
We do, Amanda. Thanks very much. We have content from all over the UK. People have contributed video shorts, and we've got our fantastic TEL Friday challenge. In 20 minutes' time, we've got a debate. We'd like you folks to join in. Is e-learning better than classroom learning, or is it just the same, or is it different? Join in the debate. Send us information by Padlet, tweet, #TELFriday, or text the number just below this screen. But first, on this stick, I have 5 video clips from different trusts who've contributed to our TEL Friday challenge. And it's Sepsis Six videos, and Amanda is going to introduce the team who are going to do the challenge today.
I better go then, Nick, hadn't I? And go meet the team.
And just a reminder, the information about how you can contact us is below this screen, so you can tweet #TELFriday, text the number, Padlet, join the discussion.
Hi team, hello, how are you
Morning.
doing? Are you all okay?
Yes, thank you.
You ready for the challenge?
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, I'll come to you first if that's okay. So Paul, you've come the furthest, haven't you, to join us for TEL Friday today. Where have you come from?
So yes, I'm Paul Wilder. I'm a learning and simulation technologist at Frimley Health Foundation Trust, and I've come from Surrey.
Surrey is quite a long way, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is my 2nd year, so I'm kind of getting used to it now. Brilliant,
great stuff. And we're going to be joining you a little bit later for the Gadget Show slot, aren't we? Where you've got all sorts of gadgets for us to see a bit later on.
Yes, I'm certainly doing that, and also I think you're seeing me in a bit anyway, and another pre-recorded bit as well. So
fantastic.
You see a lot of me,
unfortunately. Seeing a lot of you today, brilliant. Okay. Will, how are you doing?
Hi, morning. I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Good, yeah, really good, thank you. Where do you come from today?
So I've come all the way from Tiverton, which is about 40 minutes up the motorway, so not that far.
Not too far. And so last year you were behind the scenes, weren't you, Will? You were doing the communication side of things last year, looking after all the tweets and all the entries on Padlet. And this year you're part of the challenge team.
I know, I'm not sure how that happened. Last year I got quite an easy, relaxed, behind the scenes position. This year I'm actually having to do the work, so I'm a little bit nervous and stressed, but I'm sure I'll be fine.
Yeah, well, you're filling Jazz's shoes. I'm sure you'll do fine.
I'm trying to, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So Andy, you've had the least distance to come, I think, today, haven't you?
So yeah, I didn't have to come too far.
Yeah,
nice and easy for me.
Not too bad. So what are you going to be doing for us today? What's your normal job, and are you using some of the skills?
I work here at Torbay Hospital. I'm an e-learning producer. And today we're going to be doing a film-based project, basically, where we're going to be compiling 5 other clips from 5 other trusts, and we're going to be filming our 6th clip live today and adding it and compiling them all together.
Brilliant. Okay, so I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got the memory stick right here. And on this memory stick, I've got the 5 video clips from all of the other trusts and organisations that have given those to us. So thank you very much. If you're one of those organisations, we couldn't have done it without you. So they're absolutely brilliant. I've seen them all and it's very exciting. So you've got a lot to live up to, haven't you? You really have. So who would like the memory stick?
I'll take them.
You're going to take that one?
Thank you very much.
Okay, brilliant. So yesterday you got a chance to see some of the videos, didn't you? And obviously you found out that the one that you're doing is, what are you going to be doing today?
Give IV antibiotics.
Yeah, okay, so you've had a few sort of thoughts about it already and what you might be filming today.
Yeah, we've got a few ideas. We've got to develop a couple of them, but we've got an idea of what we're going to get up to.
Brilliant, good stuff. Okay, well, we haven't got very long. We've only got a couple of hours, so I wish you all the luck, and I better let you get on with it, hadn't I, really? So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda.
So back to Nick in the studio.
Okay, so our next item is information about a new free communications app called Hospify. And we've got a video clip now in which Paul interviews consultant Neville Gasker about exactly how this is going to work.
Hi, Paul here from Family Health. I'm here with one of my clinical colleagues, Neville, who's a vascular consultant. Today we're going to talk about an app that you're involved with. So tell me a little bit more about this app then, Neville.
So the app's called Hospify, and Hospify is a communications tool for healthcare, and that's for everyone in healthcare. The premise was that lots and lots of people are using WhatsApp, and it's a non-compliant tool for talking about patients.
So what sort of healthcare workers do you think will actually use this then?
So for us, it's about everyone. This could be, obviously, myself as a doctor, that's the use case that I've kind of originally looked at and such like, but it should be about communication with nurses and an MDT, physios, pharmacists. We know that the dietitians have started taking it on as well, because they're interested in talking about community patients and, is there NG tube in place and those sorts of things. We have to take photos and such like and send that back to the hub, if you like, for a senior dietitian to look at and get that instant communication going.
Presumably then, from a trust point of view, the more staff that are using it, the better. So how do they actually get hold of this app?
So it's available in the app stores at the moment, so both for Android and iOS, and it's available free for an individual user to use.
Right, I notice here it talks about freemium pricing, so tell me a little bit about that then, please.
So you clearly don't want somebody that can't support this, so we're planning on creating some tools that organisations such as hospital trusts or GP practices, or anyone, be that a spa hospital or a nursing group, those sorts of things, can use as an organisational tool to manage their users. On an individual level, the messaging will always be free. There are certain premium features that will come into the app that individuals may be interested in. So for instance, things like storage of your photos of conversations and things like that. You may want longer storage, and so that would be something that potentially is paid for in the future. And then we've also got a feature around timed access, so the ability to give somebody else on Hospify a sort of positive action of having access to you for a particular length of time.
So we've got a lot of people watching who are people like me who are technologists, so can you talk a little bit about the technology that you're using behind this?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's a really interesting set of technology from that perspective. So one of the principles behind Hospify is it's completely serverless. There is nothing that's held in a cloud. Your phone effectively acts like a little mini server. So all encryption is done on device. When you register with Hospify, you create a public-private key on the device itself. And that public-private key is only ever held on the device. It's never shared in a key server or anything like that. So when messages are then sent, they're encrypted on device. They're then encrypted in transit using HTTPS for transfer. And they sort of go via a conduit, because sometimes phones can be offline and not necessarily going to be there available at the same time. But in essence, nothing is actually ever stored in the cloud. So it makes it a really secure system, because it means there isn't really a central point for someone to hack. What we really want to see is that multidisciplinary communication happening, where I can arrange Dad's curry night on a Friday on a WhatsApp group, and it's easy, everyone kind of gets on there, you have your reply and everything else. Why don't we bring that to healthcare? Why is it not that everybody is actually on a system where it doesn't matter which hospital you work in, which part of the country you're in, it doesn't matter, you can communicate, and that's what I would like to see.
That sounds absolutely great. I think that's a really good use of technology in healthcare, and from the point of view from us, of course, it's absolutely free. So back to you in the studio, Nick.
And welcome back. And thanks very much, Paul and Neville, for that. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about that app. I'd like to say hi to the people who are joining our YouTube chat. Please keep the conversation going, and anybody who wants to join in with any comments, ideas, suggestions, and particularly questions, please do so. Our next video clip is about Learn Appeal, and I mentioned earlier on when I was standing by the penguins about we were going to give you an opportunity to make a difference. And this is an organisation called Learn Appeal, which aims to create e-learning which we can give to developing countries who have very little learning, if any, at the moment. The first thing we see in this clip is Leslie Price, who's the director of this organisation, and she explains what it's about. The second clip is Richard Price from Manchester Ambulance Service, and Richard has already contributed to this by creating e-learning for them himself, and he'll explain how you can do the same. Over to you, Leslie.
Technology-enabled learning should be providing better education for everyone, yet very often those who need it the most are the very people for whom it remains a distant dream. We believe that has to change, and with your help, we believe it can. Today, our old technology is being recycled across the developing world. The intention? To connect excluded communities to the huge repository of knowledge that exists on the web. Yet many of those communities have no internet access or even mains electricity, meaning that while they have the tools for using online learning, they are unable to access it. This is where the Learn Appeal capsule comes in. The capsule has been designed to take learning to areas that lack even the most basic infrastructure. Running off an internal battery, it transmits a signal that can be received by any nearby device, even without an internet connection. Connecting learners to a learning management system that can be preloaded with literally any content, from vocational skills to basic health and safety, giving even the most disadvantaged learners a fighting chance at changing their lives. Learn Appeal already has a number of projects up and running, both abroad and at home. In the UK, we are working with Barnardo's, using the capsules to help young people access targeted learning in a safe environment. In Malawi, we're helping disadvantaged young people build entrepreneurial skills and grow the local economy. There are so many people we can help, so many places where learning can make a difference, but we need your support. All kinds of donations are welcome. We're not only seeking help with funding, we'd love to hear from anyone willing to donate their time and expertise, especially experts in learning and learning technology. Donations of learning content are also hugely valuable, whether that's off-the-shelf vocational content or bespoke content that could be created to support a specific project. Please join us as we bring a brighter future to young people and adults all around the world. Together, we really can make a difference.
Okay, so I'm here with Richard Price, no relation to Leslie, who has had experience working as a content creator for Learn Appeal, so is no doubt a few steps ahead of some of our audience who might want to get involved. So hi Richard.
Hi Andy, how are you?
Very good, thank you. So I understand you also work as a learning technologist for HEE, is that correct?
That's right, so working on the National Technology Enhanced Learning Programme, but also working in a trust as well. So I work at Yorkshire Ambulance Service, developing e-learning and managing that.
Fantastic. And yeah, so we've spoken to Leslie and we've seen what Learn Appeal's goals are and its ambitions and its fantastic solution. So I understand you've already worked with them as a content creator. So we're going to ask some questions regarding that, but as an overview, how did you find the entire experience?
Do you know what, Andy? This sounds really cheesy, but my sort of phrase in life at the moment is I want to change the world, make it a better place. And I know that sounds horribly cheesy, but I genuinely believe and feel with this piece of work that actually that's what we're doing, and we're changing people's lives and making them better. And it's a great team to work with. They've been a lot of fun. There's a great community. They like to have a drink as well periodically, which is always good. Yeah, like I say, with the content that we're developing, the stuff that we're doing is actually going to change lives, hopefully.
Excellent stuff. So just a little bit about the course that you created. Was it to do with rainwater? Was that right?
I have absolutely no expertise in this area at all. I'm certainly not an expert in anything to do with this. This is well out of my comfort zone. But the topic I chose to look at was around rainwater collection. So a lot of African communities in particular struggle with capturing that rainwater during the wet season. So we wrote them a guide based on some PDFs and put together a course, an e-learning course that can then go on the Learn Appeal boxes that can then be accessed by people and show them how to collect that from a practical point of view, how to build a water collection deposit, how to put guttering up, how to make sure the water's safe to drink and filter it before using it.
Oh, fantastic. So you were able to pick that topic. So how many topics did you have a choice from, as it were?
Hundreds. There was a spreadsheet that Leslie at Learn Appeal provided me. That spreadsheet had all of the key topics. So there's a chap called Eric Kimura who works in Kenya, and he identified the key areas that they were struggling with, and put together a list of all of the courses that they wanted to look at. We then, as a team, looked through that and picked the ones that we were interested in. And like I say, I thought the one that would have the biggest impact and the one that would potentially be turned around quite quickly is the one on domestic rainwater collection.
Fantastic. So did you need to research that topic independently or work with Eric? Where did the source content come from?
So it was a combination of that. There was definitely some personal research I had to do. Wikipedia was definitely my friend during this work. Like I say, it's not an area I have any expertise in, but certainly that was a good starting point. But also there's a charity already working across the world called Practical Action, and they'd done some work about 10 years ago and produced a set of PDF documents with photos, instructions on how to do this. So it was really, it was a proper instructional design role. It was taking lots of different sources of information and taking out the pertinent points and turning into an e-learning course.
Oh, brilliant. And you use a program called Evolve, is that correct? Leslie mentioned the Evolve authoring package. Did you use that one for this project?
Yes, so it's actually a really nice product, and it's not one I've come across in my professional life before, but it's called Evolve. It creates responsive e-learning courses, so they'll work on a phone, they'll work on a tablet, they'll work on a desktop or a laptop, and it creates those courses in a really nice way, makes the images all responsive as well, so everything comes out into the fold.
Excellent. Would you have had the option to, I don't know if you already did, but include video content? Does it allow for video content, interactivity, the usual things we're used to?
Yeah, it's all the usual things you would expect from an authoring tool. So the one I'm sort of personally familiar with is Lectora, and that's what I use on a day-to-day basis. But it was a learning curve for me to learn this, but actually it provided a lot of the same functionality that Lectora provides. So you can include all sorts of multimedia and things. There are, of course, limitations in terms of what we could do because the boxes aren't internet enabled. So there was no point in putting links, for example, to web resources in. They wouldn't work because they would just be presented with a blank page to the user that was accessing that. But in terms of the actual authoring, anything that you could embed was definitely included.
That's brilliant. So there's no restrictions because you're obviously on the capsule. You could still design.
Yeah, as long as it'll fit on the SD card that goes into the capsule, then there's no restrictions.
Oh, that's really good to know. You've got that kind of freedom and total freedom regarding the content as well to apply to the list of topics that are required. That's really good.
Yeah, obviously I would just sort of add there's a sort of house style template, but that's quite loose, so you can do a lot with it. And again, a lot of that's come from the community as well. So when we've wanted to develop, when we've wanted to add functionality, we can change the house template to meet that requirement.
That's brilliant. Well, hopefully our audience have liked what they've heard from Leslie and loved what they've heard from yourself regarding the actual production. Final point, really, would you recommend that any of our audience get involved?
Absolutely. This is going to change people's lives around the world, not just in Kenya, but everywhere else where the Learn Appeal boxes are going to go eventually. This is really, and it's been a lot of fun as well. Like I say, there's a great community both online and offline. We use Slack as a communication tool, so we can have a bit of banter on there as well. So there's a good support network in place, but equally there's also the physical network. So when we go to events like Learning Technologies in January and at the start of the year, we all meet up for a drink and we catch up and talk about the work that we're doing and how that's going to hopefully change people's lives.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Richard.
Great to meet you, Andy.
You too, thanks.
Everyone.
Okay, thanks for that. And apologies, Richard, I said Manchester, I should have said Yorkshire Ambulance Service. But really interesting stuff there and an opportunity for all of us involved in e-learning to truly make a difference. It's often a cliche, isn't it, making a difference? But I guess with something like this, we really can. And we're going to have some more information. We've had somebody else come in and we'll post her details after the show on her experience with Dr. Bernardo's. We're going back to Amanda now to see how the guys are getting on with the video challenge.
Hi, I'm with the video challenge team, and let's find out if those videos have downloaded okay. So, how are you doing, guys? Did they download all right?
Yeah, it was certainly a little thing we were worried about, having 5 different videos from 5 different trusts and whether they would actually be able to put them all into the machine. But luckily, Andy's managed to deal with it and we've got them all in. So that's really good.
Brilliant. That's great news. Well done, Andy. So, what else have you been up to then?
Well, we had a couple of ideas because obviously we knew we were doing IV antibiotics, and we've kind of had a bit of discussion, and we're going to go for a kind of light-hearted approach. But we understand it is, we understand it's a really serious subject. And I'll pass you to Will, actually, I think.
To talk about the seriousness, Will.
Yeah, so I think obviously sepsis is an incredibly important, serious and pertinent topic at the moment. So what we've tried to do is not be lighthearted, but come up with something that is memorable. And I think a good way to kind of talk to people is to use a kind of slightly humorous message to get through. So it's a fine balance, I guess, between making something memorable and interesting, but also then not taken away from the important, serious message that sepsis obviously is. So hopefully we've got that balance right, I guess.
Brilliant, great. I look forward to seeing it. So I can see you've been doing a bit of planning on the board there. So these are some of the things that you need to do, is it, to make sure that you can manage this challenge today?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you've given us the memory stick. We need to get the media imported into DaVinci Resolve.
Okay, so what's DaVinci Resolve? What's that?
DaVinci Resolve is an incredible piece of free software, video editing software. I mean, it's very powerful. There's a professional version of it, and they've just stripped back some of the elements that I never need to use anyway. And they leave you with an incredibly powerful package for free.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
brilliant.
so we're using DaVinci. So we pulled off all the videos you gave us and we've imported them. DaVinci kind of comes in 5 tabs where you import your media, you do your editing, then you can start adjusting the color and adjusting the sound on the other 2 tabs, and the final one's render. It's really intuitive. Really recommend downloading it and having a look. So it's super powerful.
Fantastic. And now that you've seen some of the videos in your package, do you think you're going to have to do much work on those videos?
Well, no, the videos that we've got in, they're all in there. We did the lower thirds, which is the graphic that we're going to overlay just to kind of to display which trust was involved in each of the video clips.
Right.
Created those in advance, but I've imported them today.
Yep.
So we're just syncing all that up, ready for when we do our shoot imminently. And then we'll get that one imported as well.
Okay, so next up you're actually going to be filming your IV antibiotic section.
That's the plan.
Of the video. So you've got some ideas around what you're going to do.
Yep.
And have you been busy sort of brainstorming that as well in the meantime, have you?
Yeah, these guys are the stars of the show on that one, but we've been like, just finishing off a couple ideas that we're going to get in the can imminently. Okay,
well I'm looking forward to seeing that then a bit later on. It's going to be very exciting. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you very much, guys. So back to Nick in the studio, and I think we've got something on ebooks, haven't we, Nick?
We do. Thanks very much, Amanda. We've got a chat from Dorset Healthcare saying Hospify sounds a particularly interesting way to communicate for those in a rural area. So maybe there's something they can pick up with that too. Our next clip is about ebooks. Nikki and Hannah from Western Hospital in North Somerset have been looking at free software which will enable you to put content that would otherwise have been on PowerPoint or Word documents maybe into a really nice looking setup with software available freely on the internet. Over to you, Nikki and Hannah.
In this section, we're going to be discussing how we made our publications and leaflets more interactive and device friendly.
We will be discussing the benefits of using this type of media.
We recently published our library's annual report, and we will be using this as part of our demonstration.
There are many reasons why you might like to use this type of technology. These can include:
they can be accessed on a variety of products such as tablets, PCs and mobiles.
It can save on printing.
You can access this easily via your email.
You can link to and from web pages.
Most importantly, it can look really, really professional. You can share it on a variety of formats such as Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn.
You can use the statistics to find out how many views our shares or downloads it has had.
The basic principle with packages such as AnyFlip and Issue is that you can load up a PDF and the package will do the rest. So, if you're not a graphic designer, like us, then how can you create a leaflet which is professional looking?
We have used a package called Canva. Just using the basic features, you will need to access this on Google Chrome.
So, now that you've done all the hard work, you can upload it into your chosen package.
Once a document is published, it will be uploaded to AnyFlip's cloud and can be accessed from the cloud via hyperlink or QR code. You can also embed a publication to your website.
Although it's unlikely, it is possible for people outside of your organisation to access these publications, so it's important not to share confidential, copyrighted or sensitive information online.
But how could you best use it to your advantage? Well, we have come up with the following.
So for the training department, you could create guides for using ESR or the LMS that you use. You could have questions and answers. You could even put it in a training manual, or, if you're feeling really risque, create a workbook.
From an organisational point of view, you could make interviews with key personnel in your department's annual report, or an organisational magazine.
Whatever you use it for, I hope that you'll agree with us that the end product does look good and it is very easy to use and interactive. Now, back to Nick in the studio.
Great, thanks very much, Nikki. Thanks very much, Hannah. We've got some lovely content there, and I'm sure people will be using that to make their things look better. Now, the next thing we've got coming up is a report from Learning Technologies at Olympia, and I'm sure a lot of you know that every year there's a fantastic conference held there over 2 days. Lots of free talks, lots of stands, loads and loads of information, and for those fortunate enough to go to the main conference, there's speakers on technology enhanced learning from all over the world. What we've got next are some Vox Pops, because Andy and Will went this year and they interviewed some of the key speakers. Over to you, Andy and Will.
Hi there, Andy here. Before we get going on the Vox Pops, I just wanted to draw your attention to the link beneath this video that will take you to a YouTube channel that has all 70 talks that were delivered in the conference area of Learning Technologies. Now, we only got to go to maybe 10 or 11 over the 2 days, but you'll have access to all 70 that you can dip into as you see fit. So yeah, just wanted to draw your attention to that, and now on with the Vox Pops.
Right there, this is day one at the Learning Technologies conference.
Okay, so myself and Andy have just arrived. We're going to go off and see some of the interesting talks and seminars and check out some of the exhibitions downstairs.
The classroom, I don't hate the classroom. I don't hate classroom training. A lot of people in the technology industry say classroom training is the worst. It can just go. I don't like the classroom as the default. And a lot of organizations do that. A lot of organizations say, oh, we need training, we need to bring everybody in, we need to put them in the classroom. And we have way more options now. Yep. So I don't hate the classroom, but I do hate the training classroom as the default option when you're using that. I think that's a disservice to organizations.
Okay. In terms of healthcare specifically, have you got any views on whether one has more potential or one is more useful? What are your thoughts on that?
You know, the structure of the conversation that we had was one that we wanted to debate. We wanted to have that two sides. In reality, they are both very useful tools, and especially in healthcare, I think it's not a matter of which one is better or which one is worse. It's the use cases that are there. The opportunity for VR to put someone in a unique environment, in a safe environment, to do something that might be high risk, where the risks of failure are tremendous, has its place. And healthcare is doing some amazing things in that. But then you look at the AR side, and now you have the ability to give someone support in practice. You have even something as simplified as years ago, I saw people in the medical field using Google Glass, where you actually saw the person doing surgery, and people were able to see it in another room from the surgeon's point of view, and get contextual information to the surgeon about what they were doing. Tremendous applications of AR, and I think my personal feeling is VR will always have a unique value proposition in terms of just putting someone somewhere else so they can do something in a safe environment. But the applications for AR in every aspect, in every industry, but especially in the medical association, have tremendous applications. I think long-term AR is the place that you're going to see a lot of great things going on.
Okay, so I'm here with Donald Clark at Learning Technologies, and we spoke to you about a year ago to talk about wildfire, talk about how it was working. We're now looking at doing a study within the NHS using wildfire. Could you just give us an update on what's changed since we last spoke, if you've got anything that you think is really exciting now?
Okay, well, there are two things really. One, we've had a year in which we've been rolling it out in all sorts of different contexts, and then there are also some functionality things that are really sort of advances. First of all, in rollouts, so we did a big trial for apprentices in manufacturing, multiple companies. Interesting, because apprentices are spread geographically in different factories and so on. They're young, so they were often accessing this stuff on mobile. This is stuff on gas cylinders for welders and all that sort of stuff, pre-knowledge. That's been an amazing experience, because that's an interesting big swing in this country with the levy. So that was an interesting project. A second big one was for a travel company, and that was again for apprentices. 2,000 apprentices spread all over the place, and that's 158 modules in 6 days. It was a huge amount of content really quickly, because that's what this tool does. It uses AI to, in a sense, design the courses for you in the click of a button. But the big area has been in healthcare, so we've done stacks for pharmaceutical companies. These are the same problems, really, whether it's medical papers, clinical guidelines, NICE documents. There are these huge mother loads of content in healthcare, which are really difficult for learners to access, because they're often 40 pages long and people skim read them. So loads of different applications over the year, which has been great with different types of target audiences. A few things in terms of, Wildfire basically is give me a document, give me a PowerPoint, give me a video, and we literally cut and paste the text output from that into Wildfire, and it creates a course. But two really interesting things. One is voice. So at the moment you have to type things in. Now that's way superior in my view in terms of retrieval to multiple choice question. That's one of the big features of the tool, and it works fantastically well because it makes you learn and remember stuff. We've also got that working with voice, which is another area of AI, of course. So if you've got to, type in the word analgesics or something, or hypertrophy, it may be quite a complicated word, in fact. You may even have dyslexia. We've now got Wildfire working so you can actually say the word and it would recognize the spoken word. This is really interesting, even next in the navigation through it. I think that's nice, because we're all grammatical geniuses at age 3. We can all speak and listen, but not everybody's good at typing. So that's one of the big advances. A second thing is we've embedded it in 3D environments, so you can actually, for example, we just got a GP surgery, let's say. So it's got the bed in the corner, it's got a couple of devices, and usually the computer where the GP sits and does the consultation. We can now embed Wildfire in one of the walls there, next to a piece of equipment, let's say it's for electricians, next to the switch on the wall there, so you're actually doing the underground knowledge behind what you're going to be doing practically. So that's an interesting development as well, almost contextualizing it. And I like that leapfrogging away from all the old e-learning, which is you got a graphic designer in for like 2 months and you do lots of 2D graphics, which are mostly cartoons or illustrations, and not sometimes or stock photos that are not really relevant to the learning. By leaping right into a 3D environment, you're in there, you're in a hospital, and of course you can do a little Wildfire course in this room. Let's say it was a doctor's surgery, you do that stuff. Then you might send the patient off for a blood test down to the nurse. You can go jump to the nurse's consulting room and do a little bit of training on IV therapy or cannulation or whatever. So we can string them together in that way. So a number of, these are technical advances using different forms of AI, but nevertheless a big leap forward, I think, in terms of the functionality of the tool.
Okay, so we've just been to our first seminar, which was on emerging technologies, and we did a little interview with a guy called Dave.
David, yes.
David, yeah, we're now tucking into some food, which looks rather tasty.
It's been a really good conference so far. Been to two talks on emerging technologies. Look forward to sharing what we found out. AR versus VR is a big thing. Artificial intelligence sounds terrifying, but yeah, fascinating stuff so far, and looking forward to this afternoon.
Hi Ben, the last time we met you was during one of our TEL sessions, and you've done an afternoon session on gamification. How do you feel gamification is being applied throughout the learning technologies this year? Is it as prevalent?
It's quite interesting because looking around learning technologies today, I don't really see many stands that are talking about gamification anymore. And I don't think it's because it's not there. I think it's almost become a bit of a hygiene factor, a bit of a thing that is quite readily available today. So you can make a choice. Do I want a learning management system that is gamified or not? And if you do, loads of providers have adopted it to a point where it's almost saturation. You can do whatever you want with it.
It's become the accepted, become the norm. It's just an extra strand that people can expect to be able to employ.
Yeah, as you walk around the halls here today, you'll see very few people that are saying, hey, we're differentiated by having gamification. It's just, they will just say yes if you ask them.
Makes sense. So this year, any changes, any noticeable changes in the themes or the approaches that organisations, including yourself, are taking?
I think I see a change that's been coming for a while in how do we really get to impact? How do we understand what it is that we're doing actually benefiting the organisation? So you're starting to see a few more things about data, about analytics, about people that can really get to some of those measures. There's a bit of that that's coming out. Certainly what I'm pushing these days is how can we use the data that might have come out of something like a gamified learning system to understand how people are doing something different.
I see, makes sense.
See a bit of that. See social, collaborative stuff, still pretty popular. Moving towards next generation learning systems, which I don't think really means anything other than it's different to whatever the last thing was. It means you've got to buy a new one, whatever it is there. You are starting to see lots of, well not lots of, but a number of VR and AR things. So you can walk around the hall today, see alternate reality, virtual reality. Is it ever going to be a thing that's outside of, very high impact, high risk training? I'm not sure.
Okay, so it's not going to be applied to everything, but as given the right niche, given the right environment, it's a great solution. But it's not the kind of solution you can just apply to any learning need.
Yeah, I'm being a bit cynical there because I'd love a world where everything was AR'd and VR'd up the what's it. But the reality is, how hard is it to convene a face-to-face workshop and do something, or classroom training, or a digital piece, or something like that? The thought of being able to spend the money to get the hardware to do the things, that the technical problems, is going to have to be.
It's going to stay quite niche, you think?
Well, the NHS and healthcare in general is already spending millions on simulations. Yep. Will they spend some of that money on some of the simulations you see in the hall here? Maybe.
So I was really fascinated. At the start of your session, you asked if people knew what mind maps were, if they had an understanding of that. Most people said yes, including myself. You then obviously observed that most people didn't understand the concept accurately, and most people had in fact done it incorrectly. In fact, I think only one person you said had done it correctly.
Correct.
Is that quite common?
Not knowing what we think we know is common. Because we're trained to rote remember, to regurgitate it, to give it back. But that doesn't make any connections in the brain. It doesn't build deep understanding. It doesn't build real knowledge. So just learning stuff and making linear notes and using one color, everybody thinks, I've got it. And they haven't got anything. It just goes in one ear, out the other. So people need to learn how to learn. And the mind map is based on the way the brain works. And as soon as we know how the brain works, then everything changes. As you saw in the audience, when they were asked a question and they gave all the wrong answer, and then we said, well, think about it again. Within 2 minutes, everybody who thought intelligently thought, oh yes, of course. So when we are trained to think well, we will think intelligently, and then the future will be a lot more healthy. Health is crucial, and it has to be body and mind and spirit.
Welcome back to the studio. So Nick here has been doing some research and some reading into, is e-learning better than classroom training? But before we talk to Nick, what I'd really like to know is what you guys think. Do you think e-learning is better, or do you think classroom is better? So please text us or use Facebook or Twitter, the hashtag #TelFriday. Let us know what you think about this. So Nick, how has your research and reading gone? What have you found out for us?
What kind of inspired this section was this review which came out earlier this year, and it's from Dr. Vayona from Spain and a team of colleagues, and they had done an analysis of 16 studies which had compared classroom learning with e-learning, involving a total of about 6,000 people. So it's quite a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, isn't it? Yeah.
And quite a lot of content. And what they concluded was there was no significant difference.
Oh.
And I thought, well, that's interesting because, well, what's your sense? Do people think it's better?
Yeah, so some people say to me that they think e-learning is better because it's pretty quick to do sometimes. You can do an e-assessment in 10, 15 minutes. And they quite like it. It's convenient. You know, they can do it when they want to, any time, any place, anywhere. A bit like that old Martini advert, if you remember that one. You know, there's no travel time. They can do it from home. And other people say they really prefer the classroom. E-learning has a test. They don't necessarily like doing the tests. And they can talk to the presenter as well in the classroom if they want to, and their colleagues at the same time. But then you've also got the subject matter experts who are presenting, and they tell me that people aren't really very engaged sometimes in their classrooms.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, sometimes they're using their phone, so looking at Facebook and Twitter and things like that. You know, and one lady actually, she told me recently that someone actually fell asleep in her classroom. So it's not really very good for learning and is absorbing all of that, is it really?
No, that's true. And I mean, what struck me was in this study by Dr. Rayona and his colleagues, they had actually looked at studies that included learning and how much people remembered a year later. And perhaps most importantly of all, they looked at whether there was an impact on patient care, which I guess is the point of the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they had established there was no real difference between classroom learning and e-learning. And I thought, well, that's interesting in itself. But the other question is, how good was the e-learning in the first place that was in this study? Was it just really boring stuff with, you know, like we've all seen e-learning that you read and there's a multiple choice question?
Did the study tell you that, Nick?
No, it didn't. It didn't. And equally, it didn't say whether there was good e-learning or whether the classroom things they compared it with were death by PowerPoint or whether they were really interesting, interactive things that people were doing stuff. So I think it was a pretty limited study. And I looked at one of the ones that he refers to quite a bit in here. There's another one from 2008, which is even stranger, I thought, because what they did was they compared e-learning with nothing at all.
What?
And they concluded that e-learning was better than nothing at all. And I thought, what are we supposed to do with that information? Because surely anything, even if you just read it, is better than nothing at all. But I understand, Amanda, you've been reading another study which offers something different.
There's a study I had a quick look at, and it's called Does E-Learning Work? What the Scientific Research Says, and it's by Will Thalheimer. And I suppose what I've concluded from this study, and you know, I may not be right here, but what I found is that it doesn't really matter if it's e-learning or if it's classroom. It's actually the things that you do in the e-learning and the things that you do in the classroom. So the activities that you do. So for instance, a scenario, if you use one scenario in e-learning and then you used another scenario in the classroom, and they were both the same, then it wouldn't matter, you still get the same learning. But if you did something different, so in the e-learning you used a scenario, in the classroom you just read out some information, then of course people wouldn't learn as much. So it's really those activities, the feedback that you give, those kind of things that really enforce the learning.
Yeah, and I think this is a really interesting point because Will Thalheimer's view is that e-learning or classrooms are both a vehicle for the learning, and it's the method that makes the difference. And I think we were talking earlier, weren't we, that you could, as you say, you could use the same method in e-learning like a real-time scenario, or similarly do it in a classroom. And we've got a comment from Maddie who says, neither is better. They work best when chosen to suit the material. And I mean, that's interesting. So does e-learning suit some things better, and does classroom suit other things? We've got Adam, who's sent us in a comment, I think e-learning can be hard as there's little feedback if stuck. And that's interesting. Thanks for that, Adam, because I think that brings me back to the point about the Spanish study, which was including learning done in English, is that we don't know whether the e-learning they studied involved feedback or not. So we don't know whether it was just a basic do it on your own. Because I think increasingly e-learning is improving and we're getting devices which either use artificial intelligence or maybe a moderator to give people feedback.
Yeah, there are platforms and ways of doing it on their forums and chats and things like that. And I know personally I include contact details for the SME, so you can, if you wanted to, you could talk to the SME after or during your experience of e-learning.
That's true, and for quite a lot of learning platforms, you have opportunities for free text answers, which can be moderated by the person running the course. And obviously that depends on how many people are taking the course. But there's lots of options here. And I think we have things like touchscreen now, where you see a video and you stop it. So I know there's been some produced here in Torbay, where if you see something in an information governance video where somebody's doing something wrong, you tap the screen and identify it. And so things like that.
And you get instant feedback then, don't you, as well, which is really good.
Yeah, you're getting instant feedback. So we've got a comment from Adam here, that face-to-face is always the preference I've found. So Adam, text us in and tell us why. Why do you think is that? Is that because you've always worked with good trainers, or is it the content, or what was it? So any other thoughts, Amanda?
No, I think I need to go back to the challenge team now.
I'm just going to mention one other thing while Amanda goes back into the challenge, is that in the Southwest we're going to be conducting some research over the next few months in which we compare e-learning of 3 different forms in which the actual method is slightly different. And the content of this study is going to be train the trainer. So if you have someone in your organisation who's new to training and would like to give us a little bit of time, it'll probably only be about 2 hours over a month or 2, and join this study in which we compare different forms of e-learning, please make contact using either the TEL Friday Facebook page or the details under this video. Over to you, Amanda.
Thanks, Nick. I'm back with the video challenge team. We've got some really interesting looking objects here. So I'm wondering what on earth has been going on since I've been here last. So, but before we do that, I've actually had a comment from Adam Fawkes. So thank you very much, Adam, for submitting this comment. He says, I wish I'd known about the DaVinci Resolve before I bought the expensive editing software. So sorry about that. I wondered if you'd like to comment about that one.
Yeah, that was a bonus when I found it. Just done a Google and found the free software. The only thing I'd add is this is my personal machine. It's not a powerhouse or anything. It was bought a couple of years ago for about £400. So it runs on that machine, the i5, really well. I mean, perfectly. But it wouldn't run on my NHS one. So you have to be aware of that when you do install it, depending on your the kit that you're using at work.
Yeah. Was it really easy to use, that piece of software? Did you have any like online manuals, or did you have to go to forums and look for guidance?
Well, I've done editing in the past, and it uses a very similar method that I've used in, I think, Adobe Premiere. I've used it previously. Yeah. So, you know, it layers it all up. You can slice the clips, you align them, you drag them. Yeah. It's very intuitive.
Oh, great.
Like I said, you just work along those 5 tabs. You bring your media in, you edit it. You can adjust the colour, which I never normally do. You can play around with the sound. Again, only do that minimally, and then you deliver it. You just export it and render it.
And you just simply Googled that DaVinci.
Yeah, DaVinci Resolve.
And you came up with the software and just downloaded it?
There was another one I used, which I don't recommend. It doesn't matter. This one was much better. But it was another free one, and for a free piece of software, yeah, it's super powerful.
It's pretty good. Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you. And thank you again to Adam. So whilst we've been gone having our discussions then about e-learning and classroom training, what have you guys been up to? I can see there's all sorts of strange things in the corner over there.
I think, so you saw our little toy box over there of props and things. So we've just finished shooting the video. We've tidied up. There was a little bit of mess, but Paul's going to talk more about that.
How was the shooting experience? How did that go for you?
It was
who did what?
It was quite stressful. So Andy actually did the camera work.
Right, brilliant.
We got 2 actors in to do the other bit. So we did have to do a couple of different takes. We thought we'd be able to nail it first time, but in the end we've had to shoot quite a few kind of outtakes and do it over and over again. But in the end we managed to do it in one shot, which I think was quite helpful, especially in the editing. It's going to make it a lot easier for Andy to actually do that.
Yeah, so Andy, do you want to talk about, what were your difficulties with the shooting of the video there? Why did it take you sort of more than one?
Yeah, it took multiple. Professional. I blame the actors, really. The camera work was absolutely fine. No, we had to do multiple shoots, and we had to kind of make a few adjustments on the fly. Just saying, broken ice creams were involved. We had to replace that. Yeah, the ice cream idea went out the window pretty pronto, and it didn't hold up to a second shoot. So that one went out. We had to think a bit on the fly with some snacks we had around. Yeah, that was why we had to do some multiple shoots. But we filmed it on
So that's your personal phone?
Yeah, it's my personal one. It's an iPhone 7, so not the latest.
Right.
But the visual quality is incredible. I mean, the definition is more than appropriate for what we need. By the time you render it, shrunk it down, it's crystal clear, really. The only thing I would say is, and we didn't get to use it, is the audio on this isn't great. So you can get microphones that will plug into an iPhone, but what we were planning on using but never got to was the Tascam, which we used at the Learning Technologies. Will and I took this along, and you can just hook it up, use the lapel mic, or you can just have it freestanding, and then you just import this into your video editing software, and it's just a separate layer.
Okay.
And then you always clap, and you can just sync up the claps, and you're off, and you've got crystal clear.
How does that connect to the computer, or do you have to take a part out? How does that work?
It's just a normal USB.
Oh, okay. So
I mean, you
use a
can.
USB
It has got
cable.
a memory card that you can take out and slot in, or just
Right.
stick a USB in it. So it's pretty easy to get content off it.
Brilliant, and the sound quality is really good on that. So.
Yeah,
it's
really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it called again?
It's called a Tascam. How much are they, Will? This is your trusts.
I think it's about 150 quid, but if you check it out on Amazon or so, obviously we're not advertising any products, but that's the one we decided to go for, and it's worked pretty well for us, but I think there are quite a lot of different alternatives.
Okay, brilliant. So, so Paul, I think you need to go and head back into the studio now.
Paul needs to tell us about ice cream first.
Oh, why? What's happening with ice cream?
Oh, well, no, I think Andy mentioned the ice cream. The reason we were laughing earlier, actually, when Andy said about the 2 actors we brought in was, of course, because the actors are actually Will and I, but we don't really want to talk about it, and you'll see why when you see the final footage. I think if we'd had more time, I think being a bit of a perfectionist, we'd have done things a little bit differently. We'd have had better props and you could see the plugs in the background and things like that. But yes, I think you're right. I think I probably do need to go next door because I think we need to talk about gadgets in a bit, don't we?
You do, yeah.
So,
and I'm really looking forward to. So please do go.
Right, I'll pass you that.
Thank you very much. So I'm really looking forward to the section on gadgets now. So we've got some really, really exciting gadgets for you to have a look at. So back to Nick and Paul in the studio for our gadget section.
Okay, welcome back. We've got a couple of comments from listeners. As Winnie has said, that feedback suggests simulation is better, people thinking on their feet in the moment. And I think this brings me back again to the point about that study. Are we talking about e-learning as just read followed by an MCQ? Or e-learning is technology-enhanced learning in which we're using technology to support the learning. And I think that's probably the way we go now. We've got another comment from LD Keo in London. Blended is his preference, but with options to tailor his method of learning. I think that's particularly valid as well. This thing about options to tailor your learning, which increasingly now artificial intelligence is going to allow us to do this. But I think most of us would agree that a blend, if it's possible to facilitate it, is really helpful. We've got Belinda from RUH has said that different learning methods for different purposes. Absolutely right. Choosing the method for the topic rather than just saying it's got to be e-learning. Now, what is it we want to teach? Totally with you on that, Belinda. Okay, we've now welcoming Paul, who's doing lots of different roles today. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
And you brought some gadgets along with you today. What are we looking at first?
Oh yeah,
Paul?
I've got all sorts of exciting things here. So obviously outside we were just talking about a gadget there for about £150, and I want to talk about some other gadgets that are also relatively cheap.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with a really exciting gadget that I really like, which is a 360 camera.
Yeah.
So obviously, effectively, it's 2 massive fisheye lenses, but it's really, really small. You can buy kits with it. So here, for example, I have, if I can pull it out of the case here, we have a little tripod that we can just mount it on, and you can buy selfie sticks and so on. But obviously, what you can do with this is obviously you can record 360 and then you can render it, so you can either look at it using a pair of goggles or in proper VR mode, right? Or you can just look at it on a computer and just scroll around. But it's really, really easy to use. And, I've only had this about a week now. So if we talk about the goggles, now the goggles don't have to be expensive. This is a set that Kaleidos gave me for free.
Yeah.
You can make your own. There's actually Google Cardboard. You can actually have plans that are online and cut your own out. Here's another set that I got from SimGhosts. But in actual fact, you have a set like this. This is only like about £10.
Right.
And it's a lot better. You've got a bit of foam there, so it's nicer than horrible cardboard.
Yeah.
The cardboard's going to sweat if you give it to different people, and you've got a nice strap on it. But actually, I've got a surprise for you, because if you put this on, you can see a bit of footage I took earlier using this. And for you in the audience, we can actually kind of see a version of what Nick is going to see if you put that on.
Okay, so we're going to have a phone in here.
Yeah, okay, better put a phone in there, otherwise you're not going to see anything, are you? That's a good point. So let's chuck a phone in there.
Okay.
Right, there you go. And if you want to watch that, and then for the audience, you'll hopefully see a version of what Nick is seeing. So here we are, a very interesting setting of Odeon Castle in Hampshire, but it shows you a 360 environment. Unfortunately, I'm using an iPhone 6, so I can't actually know what I'm actually recording, strangely enough. That's technology for you. But as you see, the advantages of being able to see all around, and you can look at any point, even though I'm actually walking at a particular point here. And these sort of cameras are actually very, very cheap now. They're less than a couple £100, and if you have a phone that's better than my iPhone 6, then in actual fact, you can see what you're videoing without waiting till afterwards, whereas I'm going to have to wait, unfortunately. Thank you.
That was fantastic, Paul. And that was you walking around with Barley?
That certainly was, my dog. And I did no setup for that at all. I literally just put it in the middle of that little castle setup, and I just walked around it. I didn't even use the tripod at that point. It just went on the floor. Yeah. So that bit, the recording bit, is actually really, really simple. As I kind of mentioned, I think, on that clip, I'd like to have seen what I was actually looking at on the camera live, but unfortunately my iPhone 6 isn't considered to be good enough technology to actually do that with, which is a little bit of a shame, but it didn't matter too much in the end. So yes, and a little bit of kit there, really easy to record. It's the renderings a little bit afterwards, and then you can just stream it live to YouTube or something like that and look at it in your VR goggles.
Brilliant. What have we got next, Paul?
Okay, so next, well, let's see what's inside this big box, shall we? So normally I don't do this with gadgets, but in this particular case, I'm going to throw it at you.
Okay.
There you go. So what we have here is this is actually a microphone.
Right.
So to encourage audience participation in presentations, rather than give them a handheld microphone, which we're all used to, and you wonder is it on or not, and you've got to look at it up and look at it down and work out how near it is to your mouth, you can just lob the catch box to them.
And they talk into this.
And they can talk into it, exactly. And they come in different colours, and you can, if you want to pay the money, you can have your logo on the front as well, and so on and so forth.
And it's fun, isn't it? Because there's something about catching this as opposed to being handed a microphone and the kind of formality of holding a microphone. Really like this.
Yeah, and the way it works is, if we actually open it up, it's magnetised inside, but it's really just a transmitter, right, which you need to switch on, although the later versions you don't have to switch on, so you switch it on, it's battery powered, right, and then it goes to a receiver, which you can then plug in to any mixer desk, or even directly into speakers if you want to. Yeah, I mean, basically, it's a really fun gadget. I mean, if you want to hold it with just the elastic because you just want to talk into it, you can do so as well.
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed with it. It's really, it's a really nice.
It looks fun. I'd be happier in an audience catching that and going for it. Yeah, good. So what's next, Paul?
Right, let's talk about projectors.
Yeah.
So we're all used to these really big ceiling-mounted projectors. And I don't know if you can just look up at that projector for a second there. You can see how big and hefty it is. And we know that we attach computers to those projectors. But these days, little portable projectors are actually really, really small, really cheap. Right? I've got one here. So as you can see there, very small, lightweight projector.
Yeah, that certainly is small. Yeah. Neat. About the size of a packet of cigarettes.
Now, obviously, you nearly need to have some other accessories with it, and I really like this packet that actually comes with everything you need. So in here, I have my portable projector.
Yeah.
Right. I have the plug socket for it, but to make it really portable, I've actually got a USB battery pack that comes with it, so I don't actually need to be able to plug it in, which means, of course, I could do stuff outside with it as well. I have a little tripod. And if you look at the ports on the back of it, you can see here, so you've got the USB socket, so you don't need a computer. You can actually plug a flash drive in with your presentation
straight into it.
Exactly. And on the side here, I have micro SD. So you could just put it on a micro SD card, your presentation, and run it there. So you've got a completely portable set all in one here. That is all you need to go presenting with.
But I guess they wouldn't be quite as bright as a...
And that is your drawback. So your disadvantage is the original versions of these were literally 100 times dimmer than one of those big massive projectors. And your problem there is you could not do it in a bright room at all. Right? And you couldn't do it outside and actually show it outside actually. Now they're a lot better. They're not as good as the new projectors, but they're pretty good. And certainly
it's LED technology.
Exactly. And the advantage of LED also, as well as the making it brighter, is the actual fact that of course the power consumption is a lot less, which means that you can do things like run them off USB battery packs for quite a while.
Yeah. Brilliant. What have we got next, Paul?
Right, okay, so next was a gadget that I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't bring it with me.
Okay.
So in actual fact, I've pre-recorded it back in my simulation suite at Frimley Park. Right. So if we want to show that bit, please. Hi, Paul here again. So as you can see, I'm not wearing my TEL Friday t-shirt because I filmed this the before. Why? Because actually I'm in my simulation suite back at Frimley Park Hospital in Surrey, and what I wanted to do was to show you a gadget I couldn't actually physically bring with me that had just been installed recently into our sim suite, right? But to do that, we don't want to be in the scenario room, we actually want to be in our control room next door. So if you follow me into the control room, I shall talk to you about this relatively low cost gadget and a way of upgrading our simulation suite. So the gadget I'm talking about is actually this gadget here. So this gadget here with the little coloured primary school buttons, along with a really nice gadget behind called a decimator. Between these two gadgets, what they're actually doing is this is a hard drive recorder, and the one at the back is a picture-in-picture device that allows you to put all the pictures together. So between these two devices, if we come and have a look at the monitor, what we'll be seeing next door for everyone watching the simulation taking place is these 6 pictures here. So you've got the 5 pictures and the integrated monitor. How is it all controlled? Well, it's all controlled from this control panel here. And because it's a hard drive recorder, what's really nice about it is we have buttons to do recording, pausing and bookmarking. And it means that we can use a flash drive like this, and this flash drive we can put in here and it can record onto the flash drive, and then we can take that away to either next door, and therefore we can watch the simulation just after it's taken place, and they can go through it all again with those bookmarks. Right? Or alternatively, they could take it away somewhere else completely with obviously the appropriate IG consent. So I just thought I'd show you that gadget because obviously I couldn't bring it with me. So see you later.
Okay, that's fascinating stuff, Paul. So tell us a little bit more about this kit.
So here we have a photograph of the actual box that I was showing you there on that video that's in the AV cabinet. And there's effectively you've got all the connections at the back here. And I mentioned that decimator that I absolutely love is a great name, and this is the actual decimator here, and it looks really nice. It's a real shame that it's hidden away at the back of the AV cab there. But all effectively that is doing is taking a whole load of inputs, picture inputs, and then producing it as picture-in-picture, or in this case, effectively, as you saw in the video, 6 pictures. So I've got 5 shots for my simulation suite, and then I have my patient monitor down there.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned about the touch panel there. So again, you got the stop button, the pause button, the record button, and my bookmarking.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah,
I noticed there's a network port on the back of that.
Good spot in there. So there is indeed a network port on the back of there, and that's really interesting because obviously what we're doing at the moment, having just had it installed, is we're just using it to show what's going on in our scenario room next door in the debrief room. However, because there is a network port on there, you can configure the device to actually run across your trust network. So obviously with IG and IT approval, we can actually stream now our entire simulation suite scenario as it unfolds somewhere else. And that's going to be really useful for us because we can have 80 student nurses in our lecture theatre all watching it live with some of their colleagues actually in there
where
doing
they
it.
wouldn't be able to crowd round.
Correct, absolutely. Yeah. So that's really good. I'm really pleased with that bit of kit. And it was relatively low cost compared to a complete upgrade of our simulation suite.
Excellent. Okay, so what have we got next?
Right, well, I think we're down to my last bit of kit,
okay.
Which is a stabilisation unit. So these again are coming down in price like a lot of the equipment now. I've got to get my phone out again for this, so we're going to chuck my phone in here. And I'm really pleased with this gadget because, assuming it works, we switch it on here, and if you watch the phone very carefully, when I switch it on, you should see, there you go, see it's immediately stabilised it. Yeah. And now, if I was actually filming, I could walk around and it would be really smooth. Yeah. You might have noticed in that simulation suite video, if you look really closely, you could see the cameraman who was filming me in the mirror of our simulation suite. Yeah. And that's a really expensive, that's like a thousands of pounds piece of kit. And this is obviously much more simpler to use. And I've had compliments filming using this where people have said, you're using a really expensive camera there, aren't you, Paul? And I go, no, it's just my iPhone. What makes it look really professional is the fact that this is perfectly stabilised.
Yeah, so you could be walking along, but it is just going along smoothly.
Yeah, and you can actually run with this, and it's still really smooth.
You know, it's interesting, with all this kit you're showing me, Tenzin from Exeter has come in with a comment about sharing media and suggesting that Health Education England should actually make something available, like a massive server or something like that we could all share stuff. But at the same time, it occurs to me, with all this kit, if you can make stuff locally that shows like your hospital or your ward even, and people wearing uniforms that you recognise, this is relatively inexpensive and easy to produce and render for that matter, and people can produce their own, which is actually really quite powerful.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think there is a way you can use both ways, but the equipment is so cheap now, and of course we can share equipment between trusts as well.
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons that I bought the Gear 360 was because this was basically considered to be the best budget 360 camera, because I couldn't justify to our trust having a really top-end 360 camera when we weren't going to use it an awful lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in actual fact, and talking about stabilisation kits, this kit now has gone down so much that you can actually buy a kit like this for £100 on Amazon now. I mean, this is a £300 bit of kit. And I think we're going to Brighton later on, aren't we?
Yeah.
And when you go to Brighton, you'll see that Alex in Brighton is actually using exactly this kit to film on. And I believe actually our next segment, which we're about to go to,
yes,
which is Mark talking about Switcher Studio.
That's right.
If you look really, really carefully, you'll see that some of the cameramen in that, and camerawomen, are actually using stabilisation kits as well. So I think we're about to go and see Switcher Studio now.
Yeah, let's do that.
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm here today to talk about Switcher Studio, an app you can download for your iPad that allows it to talk to up to 9 iPhones and record simultaneously, allowing you to direct as you record. It can be used for live streams, it can be used to download directly to your iPad for a film to edit later. The choice is yours. So today we're going to record a hospital life support session. We're going to be using 3 phones, 2 will be handheld and 1 will be on a tripod. So let's see how it goes. Here we can see Switcher Studio in action. The footage in the bottom left corner of the screen is the live edit that can either be streamed or saved to the iPad for later use. This allows complete control of the devices in the room. Even recorded each individual phone's footage to that device as a backup. Not only does Switcher Studio allow you to switch between the iPhones that are filming, it also allows you to show video or photos that are stored on your iPad. You can stream live to YouTube and Facebook, capture 1080p or 4K TV quality video, or output the video to a projector or external display. As well as capturing video from the iPhones that are linked to the app, you can also use the iPad's inbuilt camera as another potential camera itself. The simple interface makes it easy to look like a pro, which means better looking video and more engaged viewers. Switcher Studio also includes lots of editing features designed to make your video look like it came out of an actual studio. These include transitions, picture-in-picture, and TV-style graphics and overlays. These edits can either be done in real time or in post-production after the recording is finished. You can get Switcher Studio on a 14-day free trial. After that, it charges $29 a month, roughly £22. This includes access to the iOS and desktop apps, as well as its cloud platform, which lets users live stream to services such as YouTube.
Hi, I'm back with the video challenge team, so let's find out what they've been up to. Guys, hi, welcome back. What have you been up to whilst we've been away? Well, Paul's been away talking about gadgets.
Yeah, there's no point asking me anything about what's been up to. I was just leaving it to Andy and Will, and they were rendering, I think. So I'm just going to pass it straight over to them.
Great, pass it straight over. Let's find out what you've been up to.
I can't believe you took our key member of the team away for such a long time. He's back now.
Thank goodness he's back. Thank you.
So we've just been stitching all the video clips together, or when I say we, Andy's been doing it and I've been admiring his skills and trying to learn how to use this tool. Stitching all together, we've had to do a bit of work on the sound quality and things, which Andy's going to elaborate on, but I think we're pretty much there now, ready to get it over to Jack so that people can watch it at home.
Fantastic, that's brilliant news. I've actually had a couple of questions come in. So, so the first one is for you, Andy. So, what file formats can you export from Resolve?
Okay, you get a choice of, well, it's more telling you, lets you choose your destination. The one that we've picked is YouTube 720, high resolution is what Jack, our video guy, needs. And that spits it out as a .mov. But the options you have along the top, I could have picked for Vimeo, or for Final Cut Pro 7, for Premiere, for Azid, or Pro Tools, or you can just export it as audio only. I'd have to do exploration if I could pick AVI, or if I could pick any of the other MP4s or anything along those lines. I'm not 100%, because I've always just picked, I need it as YouTube 720.
But also, there are quite a lot of free online tools, so people do get a bit tied down about formats, but there are loads of tools for converting. So whatever format it spits out as, there's different methods of converting it. So if you need a specific format for a package, that is possible. But most e-learning software takes most of the common formats. YouTube takes most common formats. So I think formats aren't as big an issue as they were once, maybe.
If you've ever had any Adobe packages as well, you can use Adobe Media Encoder, because normally if you obviously render it off as high resolution as you can have this unwieldy but high quality video format, put it through Adobe Media Encoder, and you can just compress the video to the file size that you're aiming for, and that's where you have all the file types under the sun to pick from. But if I'm honest, this makes it quite easy if you just want to, if you can pick your destination, and obviously does all the crunching behind the scenes.
Okay, great. So we had another question. Does PC version support QuickTime? Do you understand that question?
Well, it's .mov,
Yeah.
so...
Yes. Is that an error message someone's getting?
We don't know. That's all the question says. Does PC version support QuickTime? So if you've posted the question, does PC version support QuickTime? Perhaps you could give us a little bit more information. That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
So it sounds like it is an error someone's getting. Yeah.
It supports. Yeah, it supports. I mean,
it
supports it as .mov, which is QuickTime. So
that's an Apple format, isn't it, originally? But yeah, it should work.
Okay. So if you had any difficulties with the process that you've been undergoing?
Nothing major. I mean, like I said, we had the overlays in the lower thirds. We brought in our video. The videos you gave us initially, they went in nice and quick.
Yeah.
When we recorded our one using the iPhone, it brought it in as mono. But then you can just right-click on the audio track, because you get your video, then you get your audio track, and you can just tweak the settings in there, because when we checked it, it was just much quieter than everybody else's clips.
Right, okay.
So we just made that one a stereo clip, but it's a couple clicks. If you know where to look, you notice the difference. And like I said, it has this audio tab that I could start playing around in there if I really wanted to tweak that audio, like a particular voice.
Have you added any music to it?
No, we wanted to. I mean, we've got the audio here. That's obviously we've got people speaking. We didn't use the Tascam, so we've used the default iPhone recorder. Ideally, we would have had some audio tracks, like lots of the other trusts that have put some contributions in have got some great audio tracks behind it. It really does lift it as well, but we didn't have time.
Didn't have time for that. So has the rendering process finished, or is the rendering process... So it has finished? So
yeah, we're good.
How long did it take roughly to render all of the videos?
Because each one's only 20-30 seconds. I think it took about 5 minutes, 4.5, 5 minutes, and that will obviously be dependent on your PC. This is an average one, so 4.5 minutes for 3 minutes footage, really. So
brilliant. So we're pretty much ready to go with that.
Yeah,
That's great.
ready when you are.
Okay. So so the next part of this is the Gadget Show questions, which we've got a number of questions. So Paul, if you'd like to come over to all of your gadgets over here.
Okay, I'll come over here then.
So the first question that we've had is, what is the name of the portable projector?
So in actual fact, both the portable projectors here are actually both Pico projectors, which is a very common classic make of portable projectors. And this one here is a Philips projector, but they're called Pico. That's the name of these ones, and they're easy to find anywhere online.
Brilliant. How much do those cost, Paul?
So roughly, I mean, you get what you pay for in some respects, but very roughly, you're talking a couple £100.
Okay.
So, but that's cheaper than one of those big full-scale projectors.
Yeah.
But it's the right tool for the job.
Yeah, and is that a couple of £100 for both of them, or?
No, a couple £100 each.
Each, okay.
Yeah, because by the time you've got, especially this one, which has got all the extra kit in it, because you've got like the USB battery with it, and the tripod, and the case and everything. But that's why I liked it, because it was an all-in-one kit.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. So I've got another question from Adam. Thank you very much, Adam. How could the 360 camera be used for e-learning content?
That's a very good question, Adam, because if we look at the 360 course needs to actually be, the output of this needs to be somewhere where you can use it as 360. If you're actually in some sort of viewer where you're not actually using 360, it will just appear as a giant flat image, which might be useful to you, but obviously looks a little bit strange when you can see people go off one side and they come on the other side. My first use of this is actually going to be orientation tools to our simulation suite, because I spend a lot of my time doing those orientation tools, and now I'll be able to film the environment and then talk about that environment. So again, it's the tool for the job. It's coming up with a use in e-learning where a 360 environment is a good idea, where you can actually look at the environment.
Yeah, and was that an expensive piece of kit, that one? That sounds like it could be quite expensive, I would have thought.
No, this is probably, I did a bit of research, this is probably, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, the best budget 360. So this was literally about £180.
Right, yeah.
And then I spent another £40 on buying the accessories. So things like its little hood and the tripod and all the rest of the stuff that makes it up into a really nice case. You know, so you've got everything in one go. So a bit like when I was talking earlier about having the projector in its case and everything in one place.
Yeah.
That's what I really like. I only need this. But in actual fact, that castle footage we looked at earlier, that was, I had to walk an hour to get to that castle. And all I did was just take the 360 and put it in my pocket.
Oh, great. So it's so portable, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah,
it certainly was.
Fantastic. And I've got a general question on how much things cost from E-Lan. So how much were your other gadgets that we haven't talked about yet?
Okay, so the catch box, this is actually an old catch box. And again, I think, I can't actually remember how much this was now. It's roughly a couple of £100, give or take.
Nice.
Most of my items are roughly that, because if it was any more than that, I wouldn't be able to afford it.
Yeah.
The hard drive streaming recorder that I pre-recorded in my simulation suite, that was obviously a lot more. That was probably about £8,000 to £9,000.
Wow,
but
pricey.
it included the hard. Well, you say that, but of course, if I'd had a full AV upgrade to my simulation suite, you're looking £20,000 plus.
Really? Okay.
You know, whereas I managed to use the same cameras, right? Most of the same kit, the same AV cabinet, the same touch panel. The only things that were upgraded were effectively the hard drive recorder, the Extron hard drive recorder, the decimator. I just can't stop saying that name. I just love the decimator. And a big widescreen monitor which shows the picture in picture, and a few bits and pieces, and the reprogramming of my touch panel. So you know, so compared to £8,000 isn't actually that much compared to 20, 30 grand to have a full upgrade. Because I still use the same cameras you see in the ceiling, and it was a lot faster upgrade. The engineers were only in there for less than a day.
Yeah, brilliant.
So that was really good.
Okay, and what about, you've got some goggles there?
Oh yes, the goggles.
How much were they? And where'd you get those
as I
from?
mentioned, talking to Nick earlier, you can make your own for nothing. You can literally get the plans off the internet and cut them out of cardboard.
Wow.
But a lot of companies now give these away for free, as like this is an ASPI one in actual fact. You could buy cardboard ones on eBay or Amazon for a couple of quid. I would, though, if you're planning on using them a lot in your trust, I would punt out the extra to buy sort of these ones.
Yeah, and
the
how much
reason
would that
is
be,
because
that
these are
one?
roughly £8 to £10.
Okay.
But the difference is that obviously cardboard's going to get very sweaty and it's going to start disintegrating after a few people have used it. This is a lot much nicer. It's more comfortable to wear. It's got a strap on it, so you're not having to hold it to your head. It's actually just better all round. It's worth the extra money. And when you think about it, I bought 10 of these, right? And so it's less than £100, right, to have a whole set of these than it would be it's less than 10. You know, to have a whole set of these is actually relatively cheap.
Yeah,
for
enough for a classroom session.
Yeah.
Okay, and have we got another gadget at the end?
Oh, the stabilisation kit. Yes, the stabilisation kit. So £100 is the really, really cheap Amazon ones I found out now. This one I would recommend. You'll see it in action later on when Alex is from Brighton, and that's about £300, but it's a good bit of kit.
Okay, and this is what you put your iPhone in, it keeps it nice and steady.
Or any other
for you.
phone, doesn't have to be an iPhone.
Okay, yeah, any phone.
Yeah,
okay,
any
brilliant.
phone. I wish I could use that actually with my 360. You know, if I could somehow wedge my 360 in there, because then I could walk around stabilise with my 360.
Yeah, that
but
would be
I can't,
good, wouldn't it? Okay, brilliant.
And I think that was all the kit I talked about, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was, and I don't think we've had any more questions, so I think we are back to Nick in the studio.
Thank you, Paul. And as Paul said, the next video clip was filmed using stabilisation kit just like that. And it was a short video made by Alex Sanders, who's at the Brighton Simulation concert, Brighton Simulation this morning, and came in about an hour ago. So over to you, Alex.
Good morning, my name's Alex Saunders. I'm the lead simulation and resuscitation practitioner here at Brighton and Sussex University Hospitals Trust.
And I'm Amit Mishra. I'm the lead for the LFG for Simulation and Human Factors at Brighton.
Okay, and this morning we're here at the Audrey Emerton building. We have the Free Tees Expo. So we've got a number of different companies in this morning to show us their kit. Amit, perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about that.
So basically, we've got the new 3T Sim Lab coming online in 2020, and this is in preparation for that. So we've invited lots of BSUH staff to come and look at various pieces of kit and choose what they want to choose.
Fantastic. So I'm going to take you around. I'm using a DJ Osmo 2 gimbal this morning on an iPhone 4. So hopefully it'll show you a good stable picture as we go round.
Thank you, Alex. And as I mentioned, Alex was filming himself and Amit Mishra there by reaching out and holding his iPhone using a stabilizer. Our next video short comes from Clive Gage, and it's about E-Lan, which is an online facility to enable us all to share quality management for e-learning.
Here in the Southwest, we are working together to improve the quality of our e-learning courses. I'm here to tell you about E-Lan, the E-Learning Assurance Network. How can you check the quality of the e-learning you're developing? To quality assure your e-learning, simply upload to E-Lan and ask for an assessment. Our assessors will check that it meets the E-Lan quality criteria and, if needed, suggest improvements. E-Lan is a great place to keep in touch and share learning and courses with colleagues in other organisations, and it's free to use. So get involved with E-Lan and everyone benefits. We have developed an online review platform featuring social media such as group chat, community pages and file sharing. In addition, there is free to use WebEx and assessment template modules for our course assessors.
Thank you very much, Clive. Further information on E-Lan and the Quality Insurance Network is available below this video and also on the TEL Facebook page. So now we go back for the final time to Amanda and the challenge team. How's it going, guys?
Hi, welcome back to the video challenge team. So last time we left you, we just rendered the video. So what's happened now? Let us know, how's that gone?
We had just re-rendering because we did have a little issue with the sound. Our clip was a little bit quieter than the others. I think an issue we found is because each of the videos was filmed separately by different people, all the different audio levels were obviously recorded differently, it was processed differently, so trying to balance them so the video didn't go up and down, loud, quiet, etc. has been something we hadn't
It's a bit of a
foreseen.
challenge for you.
Yeah, but that's what it says on the t-shirt.
Yeah,
so,
brilliant. So is it ready now to go to Jack?
Yeah, we've got on the stick ready.
Brilliant. Okay, let's get it to him straight away because I think he's got to do some work. So Paul, if you wouldn't mind just taking that through to Jack.
Okay, I'll do that then.
Brilliant. Great. Thank you very much. So whilst Paul's doing that and whilst Jack is rendering, sorting out, publishing, whatever he needs to do with the video, do you know what Jack needs to do now?
Well, I'm hoping he's just going to put the stick in. We've got the stick formatted so it will run on a PC and on an Apple Mac, so that's what he's using. We just formatted it as exFAT, and then it will work on both. So I've just copied it on this end, so I'm hoping Jack can just pull it off on the Mac.
So fingers crossed that works and we can get to see the video in a minute. Okay,
yes,
brilliant.
Absolutely.
So for you guys now, the challenge is really over. Yeah, well done. How do you all feel? How does this, for those of you who were here last year and doing the challenge, how does it feel for you? So, Paul.
Yeah, I think last year's was definitely, just a quick recap, it was the e-learning challenge where we had to design an entire slice of e-learning within the time frame. This one felt more manageable, but there was more moving parts because obviously we had to pull in the different strands from all the other trusts. But because we knew they were solid, we could concentrate on ours. And because we kept it as one clip, we would have liked to have put lots of multiple angles, but to keep it easier for us, we've done it all in one continual stream. So yeah, that side of it was okay, but we did hit our own challenges regarding ice creams and such.
Yeah.
But we got there.
So it was probably quite good, I suppose, to know, because you knew in advance this year which section you were doing.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Last year you didn't have a clue, did you? You didn't know what was going on with the e-learning module, but this year you were able to do a bit of preparation.
Yeah,
before,
well, yeah, we could do a bit of
wasn't it?
preparation and come up with ideas. I mean, that's the, you know, you come up with an idea, but then you want to refine that idea. And last year we didn't really have that luxury. And this year we knew what we were doing, so we had an idea, so we could kind of
get ready.
And also the standard of the other videos was really, really high, which put a lot of pressure on us because we knew what we were competing against. And if I'm honest, I think the other organisations possibly outdid us. But the viewers can judge that for themselves. But I think that just really highlights how different organisations pulling together, and each of those different organisations producing something that we've put together is actually really powerful, and it's really impressive to see what everyone else came up with. When we first asked for people to get involved, there was a little bit of stress, I think, about no one's going to offer, no one's going to do anything, we're not going to get anything back. And actually they started coming in, and I think we were all really impressed at the high quality and the amount of, like we've seen this morning, how much effort goes into making a video. So all those people around the country are putting massive amounts of effort, which is really positive. So thank you to them.
The collaboration between the trusts is just something, you know, it's been one of the most positive things from this experience without a doubt. And it just goes to show, you know, when we work together, we can produce one piece, but also the kind of the sharing of content that we produce independently, and we can all benefit from that. So hopefully it promotes a bit more of that as well.
And will the video be available if people wanted to have a copy of the full video?
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest we start using this as the Sepsis Six, but yeah, I'm sure we can make it available if it isn't already on the on the live stream.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. So Will, how has it been for you? Because last year you were behind the scenes, you were doing the comms for us last year with all the questions. This year you've been part of the challenge team. How has that felt for you?
Well, it's been good in terms of adrenaline and excitement, but I think I'm more of a behind the scenes person. So maybe next year we'll find someone else to be in the hot seat, in the creative seat.
Yeah, we're going to find...
So that would be really great actually. If anybody is interested in being part of the video challenge team for next year, then tweet in, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love you to take part. Oh, and I've just heard that the video is now ready, so I think we can probably go over to Jack, and Jack, run VT.
We need to maintain oxygen saturations to above 94%.
Administer 15 litres of oxygen per minute via a non-rebreathe mask.
Hey!
Culture it. Prep it. Clean it. Clean it. Take it. Send it.
Culture it.
You're out.
Morning, Doctor. What do I need?
Give fish.
No, thank you, Doctor.
Give penguin.
No, thank you, Doctor. Give IV antibiotics, Doctor.
Blood vessels are the body's delivery system, allowing the transport of fluids, oxygen, nutrients and others, a bit like the River Thames. When a severe infection enters the body, vasodilation can occur. The blood vessels become leaky and fluid escapes. Blood clots can form. Due to poor perfusion, oxygen is unable to reach the organs, leading to end-organ failure. Act fast. Give 500 ml of IV fluid stat to restore perfusion and volume. Allowing oxygen to reach the cells and organs, hemodynamic stability can be restored and end-organ perfusion secured.
Welcome back. What an amazing video. Wasn't that brilliant, Nick?
I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, superb, wasn't it? I particularly like the little guy on the fridge.
I think that was my favourite. And I've got to say a special thank you to Mark Ellaby for doing that, because when I spoke to him on the phone to ask him to do it, I was parked in a motorway service station with a car full of barking dogs, and he didn't know who I was, and he said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So points to you, Mark, for that. But I thought they were all fantastic. And also, all of those 5 different trusts, none of these people had ever met each other, and yet they all agreed to put this together, and it shows what creativity and collaboration can do when we all get together.
Yeah, it's amazing what we can do when we work together,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely fantastic. It just remains for us to say thank yous. So for today's thank yous go to Living Coasts and their penguins, who allowed us in there early one morning to film that, to Berry Big Band, who freely gave us their music for TFI Friday that we could play, for the contributors to all the video shorts, for the fantastic Sepsis 6 contributors, and to our team here who have helped us all. And we're going to pan around, so you should see them all. Some of them are hiding behind the lights here. So wave, give us a wave, guys. This is all the guys who put together and worked together for today, and including, and actually you saw Nick Perez there, who's one of the country's leading experts in VR, and he's volunteered to help us doing a bit of camera work this morning. Thank you very much, Nick. And so next year, we're hoping to do TEL Friday from 2 centres. And if you would like to be involved and do some co-presenting from where you are, we'd really like to hear from you. So get in touch using the information below YouTube here, but also on our TEL Friday page. So thanks again to everyone who helped make today a success, but chiefly yourselves. We'll see you next year.
Bye.
Bye.